This is the concierge, sir.
And welcome, everybody. This is Brian Ortega, host of Concierge Confidential. We are back. We took a couple weeks off. I went to California. NFL season started. We're all very, very excited. So we're back. This is sort of like a mishmash episode. I'm going to tell you about my trip to San Diego and kind of what I went through traveling to a different place, being like you guys, traveling to another city and then experiencing it for myself. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and also some updates on what's going on in Vegas and a couple things that I thought about on my travels. So this is our brand new episode where we're going to be talking about our trip to San Diego and the latest things coming to the wonderful city of Las Vegas. Coming up next. Okay, everybody, so welcome back. So I did go away for a little bit just because I was on vacation. I was with my family. I actually went a little bit early because I had to come back early for our new schedule at my other job, which if you haven't figured out yet what my other job is, I actually work at a company called VSiN, which is a sports betting television network. And we do sports betting television. So I'm doing a new show. It's called Money Moves. If you guys want to check it out, you can check it out on an iHeartRadio app, YouTube TV, where you find VSiN. And the hosts are Stormy Bonantoni and Jeff Schwartz. And sometimes it'll be Matt Brown. Sometimes it'll be, who else is it? Mike Samich, which those are hosts on the network. But come and check it out if you guys are into sports betting. I produced that show, so you probably won't hear me on that particular show because I'm the one who's in charge of putting it together. So I'm really excited about that show, which I've never plugged any other show on this particular podcast for my other job, but I think it's really good. So I just really want you guys to check it out. So, by the way, nowhere we are affiliated at all, just that I am the producer of that show. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about it. So I went on vacation, just like how all of you go on vacation, but I went to San Diego. So a couple of things that I learned about traveling is you learn something new every single time. So I end up this is sort of like a hybrid vacation because I went by myself for the first couple of days and then met up with my family who met me there once they ended up getting to the city. So I ended up leaving Las Vegas on I ended up leaving Las Vegas on a Wednesday. So I had basically half of Wednesday and then I had all of Thursday and then Friday is when my family got there. So a couple of things to note. Understand the city that you are traveling to. So I ended up going to San Diego. I do quite a bit of research for when I go on vacation, which just like you should. Sometimes you'll listen to pods. Sometimes you'll go on the internet and search. Me being a concierge, I do my process. I don't listen to like lots of pods about places I'm going. But I do watch a lot of videos. So I do watch a lot of YouTube videos because I'm a little bit more of a visual person just to kind of get the lay of the land. I know you guys would like me to do more of those, but it's a little bit tough just because I like to be out in the world, and it's like I hate having to record stuff. Although I enjoy doing it, but it does feel like work sometimes when I do that. So I do my research before I go. So I usually figure out where I'm going to be in that area. So this is actually a really good way of planning. So I ended up staying in the Gaslamp District in San Diego, which is sort of like their strip that has lots of bars and restaurants and stuff, which is usually pretty cool. They have a couple different. The cool thing about San Diego, which is what I love about it, which just has nothing to do with Las Vegas, but you guys listen to the pod, so why don't we talk about it? So the cool thing about San Diego that I like is that there's so many different like little pockets that are kind of different from each other, but like sort of similar. Like they all know they're still in San Diego, and they all know that they love each other. So, or sort of. So you have Gaslamp, which is sort of the party part of that part of San Diego, which has bars, nightlife, music, all that good stuff. Then you have Little Italy, which on it. So like, let's just talk about Little Italy for a second. I didn't go to Little Italy this time because it was a little bit further away from Gaslamp, which it's not far at all. I could have took like a pedal cab and got there, but I just was like, I don't know if I want to go that far and blah, 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 excuses. It wasn't until my brothers got there that I went down there to pick up food for where we were staying at, and I was like, damn, this place is bumping. There's beautiful people around. Man, I just want to sit out here, have a cocktail, and just like be young and hip. And yeah, I just total miss on that. So I ended up going to Gaslamp, which is what I know. And I've had like a nostalgic feel for that area. And it's cool, but it's like definitely I'm aging out of that part of Gaslamp. Like the food on Gaslamp is so mediocre, like it's wild. Like I'm just like, oh, this food is like kind of generic. Like I don't even think it's that good. It's expensive. And I'm the last person to say that things are expensive because I live here in Vegas where everything is expensive. But I'm just like, damn, it's not that good. So I was just a little disappointed with the food. Drinks are great because of the drinks. But man, Little Italy, if you guys go to San Diego, make Little Italy a stop on your trip just because they have so many, just again, beautiful people, great places to walk. They have like cool dessert places. They have places that have, great pasta, pizza. It's just awesome. And it looks beautiful. And yeah, it just felt like Gaslamp was a little bit more run down and Little Italy was great. So highly recommend Little Italy if you guys go back to San Diego. But when I went there, I made sure to do my research where I was going to be traveling and what I was going to do. And you have to like be realistic with yourself. So you have to understand like, okay, how much walking am I going to do in this area? Is it going to be popular or is it going to be busy at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Because sometimes things are really busy at night and not busy in the daytime. So I rented a car. It's always good to sort of search and check out and see where these different rent-a-car places are. In Las Vegas, it's tough. So if you come to Las Vegas, you kind of all have to go to the rent-a-car center, which is by the airport. There are hotels that do have their own rent-a-cars, so that could be very convenient, especially if you're staying at that property. Sometimes those are more expensive just because they have a little bit more limited availability, but just check. But usually the one at the airport is going to be the most affordable because they have the most selection of cars, so that's something that you kind of have to deal with. But the cool thing about the one at the airport, which you have to actually get on like a little bus and then go to the rent-a-car center, is that they have all the rent-a-cars in one space, which I found this is not the case for a lot of places. Like if you go to LA, theirs are just spread out, like kind of in the same area, but like they're not. So that's a little bit annoying. But the cool thing about the Vegas one is that you can come to Vegas with no reservation, and you can go to like 7 different places to get a rent-a-car, which is cool. Very, very cool. I don't recommend that. I recommend you have your reservation before you get here, but I'm just using it as an example. But most of MGM, I believe, uses Hertz Rent-A-Car, and I think Avis is for like something else. Actually, I believe Avis is the one that runs all of the MGMs in the city. Okay, so I rented a car, and I did use it. It's really, really nice that I used it quite a bit. And it's really fun to explore with your car. But this is actually a really good example that I went to places that I had been before, like like Mission Beach. I went, had a couple cocktails, I did a little bit of work as I had like a beer, looking at the ocean. Again, just looking at the ocean and doing any work in particular. It's on my phone. I'm texting guests. It's fun. It's actually not bad. It actually just makes the experience so much better. So after I did that, I drove north of Mission Beach, and I found this beautiful little park that was like a locals park that overlooked the ocean, which was very small and had these cool dogs. It was picturesque California. Like if you actually had to pick a postcard of what California in your mind is like, it would be this place. Yes, I know all the people who hate California, all you Midwesterners, East Coasters, people who think California's full of, Democrats or whatever. I mean, again, I don't want to be political, but I'm just saying. But everybody has this view of like just homelessness and all this other stuff. I'm definitely one of those idealistic people that like really likes California. And when you're kind of by the ocean, it just sort of calms me down. So I do enjoy it. So that's kind of the cool thing about living in Las Vegas is that you don't have to live in California, but you're very close to visit, which is also quite nice. Anyways, so really fun just kind of getting lost. And I think that's actually a really good example of when you come to Vegas, you can get to where you need to go, But don't be afraid to walk into a casino you've never been before, or walk into an area of the strip that you've never been before. On the strip, not off the strip. Like, don't walk into dark alleys, but like walk into Harrah's and walk into the Flamingo, and maybe you'll see something historic that you never thought you'd see before. Or maybe you'll actually end up seeing like a bar that has a really good vibe on the inside. I do that all the time where I'm walking around these places that I don't go very often or go at certain times of the day. And I'm like, oh man, that's actually pretty cool. Like I did that at Resorts World where I went on like a random like Thursday, and I was walking around. I think I was trying out the cigar bar because a guest had made a request that they wanted to do like a cigar lounge experience. But they had really good music at the country bar, the Doghouse. And I was like, man, this place is pretty good. So you'll always find like these little pockets in town that are really, really fun to experience. So that's why it's good to, maybe spend some time getting a little bit lost in the city that you're visiting. It doesn't mean be unsafe. It doesn't mean go to parts of town that you don't know, or it's dark and maybe a little bit dingy. But if you're in a safe place and you're comfortable, definitely try it out. Like when I got lost over there in San Diego, it was like the middle of the day. I knew it was sort of like a nicer part of the area, and it just sort of worked out. Is it always going to work out? No, it doesn't always work out, as I found out walking off of like the main drag on Gaslamp, but it is what it is. But just to sort of round out this story, it's always good to plan at least one experience that you're really looking forward to. And I usually recommend you plan it on your second day. Like if you're spending a long time there, plan it on like your second day. Because if you plan on the first day I count as the day that you got there, you're going to feel rushed. You're going to feel like you're always like you're just sort of slowly going to this event. It's good to do it the second day because it's sort of like, hey, we have this semi-plan for what the day is going to be. So I planned on going to a speakeasy inside of a speakeasy, which sounds super stupid, which I've been against speakeasies for maybe the past couple months now because they're popping up everywhere. But San Diego has really, really cool ones. And I just want to sort of tell you about one that I feel like I've been doing the homework for this. So it's inside of a restaurant called Neighborhood, which looked really cool. It had a really cool vibe on the inside. Felt very like New York on the inside, where it was just sort of like this great restaurant in this like sort of weird spot in downtown. And then you go into the back where like the restrooms are, and then there's like this beer kegs that you actually have to walk through. And when you walk through these beer kegs, these standing up beer kegs, there's a person just standing in this little room, like a hostess stand, and she says, are you here for the Noble Experiment or are you here for Youngblood? So the Noble Experiment is like kind of to the right, and you go in, it's just like this sort of big bar. It has like these, it has like these black and white floors and just like a regular bar. And it's fine. But you can make a reservation, and it was really weird. You can make a reservation for one, which is what I did. And you can go to their speakeasy inside of the speakeasy called Youngblood, which you have to actually walk through this sort of like meat refrigerator, which is not real meat. But you walk through it, and then like you just opened up into this, like, it sort of feels like the Phantom of the Opera's lair, but like a library. So it feels like the Phantom of the Opera's library inside of his lair. So you walk in, and it sort of looks like bookcases sort of like around the little box, but instead of books, it's actually just a bunch of different bottles of cocktails that you can try depending on what you order. But they sort of encase the entire bar, which is really cool. And then the bar, it's just a stand-up bar. They have, lounge chairs. They have seats at the bar as well, which that's where I sat, thank goodness. And they curate the whole experience to your palate. So it's basically like a tasting menu for cocktails. You get, I believe, 3 cocktails and like a champagne like welcome, which was fine. You're not going there for the champagne, but when you get there, you're actually introduced to the bartender. The bartender will start, explaining sort of what they're looking for. They look for flavors, taste, things you like, things you don't like. And honestly, like going to a lot of bars in town has really helped me practice on how to get, how to talk to bartenders and kind of tell them what they need to know. Because the thing about me is that I feel like I've, done a lot of drinking and a lot of experimenting where I was ready for this experience. If you're somebody who doesn't drink cocktails, this is maybe not the experience for you. But if you do this sort of like dealer's choice sort of experience, I think it was like $60, which is actually not bad. It's like $20 a drink. That's not terrible. But top of the class bartending. It was unbelievable. It was fantastic. And I just have to mention, like, they have these cool, like, candles with real fire on them. Nice touch. And then they also had these two giant, like, it looked like melted candle goddesses that was sort of like the centerpiece, which is really, really cool. It's just it was just so moody. It was a great place for like a date. Highly recommend this for like a date. It's really, really fun. Perfect noise level. It was good. Played some good tunes. The bartender was fantastic. I had 3 cocktails. One of them was like this Japanese whiskey that had like raspberry, which was delicious. So it was like a fruity whiskey drink, which is hard to pull off. Then I had an old fashioned, which was fine. Nothing stood out about the old fashioned, so I was a little bit disappointed about that because I have like a million old fashions. But for dessert, they had this like cream cocktail, and it was just sweet and sort of tasted like vanilla-y, and it was so good. Oh my God. So I had such a fun time at that Youngblood experience that I would go back again. Just because it's never the same thing over and over again. And I think Vegas needs these. I think we need a speakeasy inside of a speakeasy that's cool for the real drinkers out there. But again, maybe I'd hate it if it was here. Who knows? But loved it. Loved my experience over at Youngblood Speakeasy in San Diego. So to kind of round out the whole experience, I thought it was great. I ended up last little bit of things that I visited that I'd never visited before was Coronado Island. It's actually over the San Diego Bay Bridge, I believe. It's the big blue one. And when you get over to Coronado, it's like a different world over there. Like I could see that place just being awesome in the evening, but I would be really scared to drive over the bridge at nighttime. It's a huge bridge. But they have the Coronado Del Hotel, something like that. It's a big white building. You can't miss it. It's like the biggest, it's the most touristy attraction on the Coronado Island. And it's beautiful. It was under renovation, and it was I felt right at home because all the prices were Vegas prices. So the cocktails were like, $18. The burger was $29. That was excessive. I really wanted a burger. I was starving, and I just could not envision myself paying $30 for a burger that wasn't in Las Vegas. It's not that Vegas makes like fantastic burgers or anything. I was just like, man, this is a lot. This is a lot. So I feel your guys' pain when you're making the decisions of like, man, I do not need a $30 burger for this vacation. So I had a cocktail, I had a salad, but the real kicker is that I ended up going and walking around, and man, life was good at that time. I ended up they do like tacos and beer, and I got a Kona Big Wave, sat on the end, like where the ocean is, because they have little like seats, which is perfect, and just watching the ocean, listening to music. It was good vibes, good air, just everything was fantastic. And that beer was $15, and it was just like a regular cup, but you're paying for the view. That's what it is. Remember, guys, understand what you're paying for. You're not just paying for the item, you are paying for the experience. Mark that down. So, overall, great experience in San Diego. I think it was a really good thing to do, to go on vacation and sort of relax, but also just see that through your guys' eyes of what it's like to travel, solo, travel to a new, trying to learn different things and finding new places. And it's always a struggle because I do love San Diego, and whenever I go, I kind of like revere back to the same places. But it's really important to venture out and explore. So that was my experience in San Diego. So we'll bring it back to Las Vegas coming up after this break. Okay, everybody, so we're back. So my mom is coming into town, and she has now become a big-time gambler now that she has a host. But I thought this was actually a really good time to explain that casino hosts, which you've heard me talk about this on this pod before, they're sort of like the concierge for the gamblers. So they are specifically there for casino invited guests, people who play lots of games. Why did I say that? People who gamble a lot. So people who play slot machines, people who go to table games, people who visit Vegas a lot, VIPs, such and such. That's what a host does. So my mom's coming into town. She's actually coming to see the Eagles with my dad. And guess what? I get to go too. And we're actually going to the Sphere because that's where the Eagles are playing in October. And she's finding it very expensive to stay during that week. And she keeps asking, like, what's going on that week? What's going on that week? And it's hard to find a place. And this is the time where it is good to maybe, and again, a lot of this is you have to understand, be who you can afford to be is basically what it is at this point. But your host is there, especially if you've talked to them or had a relationship with them in the past, or if it's your first time. If it's your first time, I don't recommend start asking for stuff. Just say, hey, I'm coming in on these dates. And really the baseline of this is that they've sent you an email that says, hey, my name is such and such, and I'm in charge of your account or whatever. It's sort of along those lines. At that point, you can say, hey, I'm coming into town on these dates, and I was just looking to see what is available or what you guys have available to offer at that property. It's a really good, easy way of saying what you want, but not forceful enough of saying, give me this for free. A really good way to sort of get started in the conversation is, I just want to see what you have available. That's such an easy way to open a conversation and for us to try to go above and beyond. The host, obviously, if you are able to meet the criteria, would love to let you stay complimentary, especially if you're a gambler. A lot of this is encapsulated that you are a person who gambles. If you're somebody who doesn't gamble a lot but visits Vegas a lot, spends lots of money, and you have your tier credits and whatever, you have to visit quite often to get to a pretty high level. But when you gamble, you just get there faster. That's the whole point. But for those of you that do gamble, this is a really good opening sentence of like, hey, I want to come into town. I don't want to spend a lot of money, and I would like you to help me. It's basically all it is. A lot of it is reading between the lines. And then usually they'll come back with you and say, hey, like I can offer, this is usually the case, I can offer you this hotel for these rates on these days, and I'll waive like the resort fee. That's like their favorite thing to do. That's one way of doing it. So my mom, who's actually done this before, she actually got the email from the host and said, hey, I'm coming in such and such days, and I want to stay in one room with 3 beds, which is actually very hard to find in Vegas, with my friends, and I just want to see what you guys have available. And again, you should do your own research knowing the room you want. Like, for example, my mom said, hey, I like this particular suite at this hotel, which was in the family that this host worked for. And she said, great, I can offer you, let's just say they were staying for 5 days. I can offer you 3 days complimentary, and you just have to pay for the last 2 days. No resort fee for any of those dates. And this would be the price. Beautiful. That is what we're looking for. Sometimes you get the whole thing comped, which is even better. So the good thing about this is that you're building a rapport with this person. This town's all about relationships. Sometimes you'll have to pay the first time you come to Vegas using your host. But the more your relationship grows and the more that you spend, because you have to remember that hosts do not work on hopes and dreams. Hosts do not just give out free rooms to give out free rooms. They give out these rooms complimentary because in return, you are going to spend it in the casino. Because again, the less money you have to spend on on a hotel, the more money you get to spend in said casino. So this is sort of the golden rule that you have to live by in Las Vegas with a casino host. So this is the very basic thing. That's where I would start with is, hey, I'm in town. I'm coming into town. What do you have available in terms of rooms? Rooms is sort of the starting point. Then when you get up to the higher levels, then you're starting to look at, hey, like I want to go to a Golden Knights game or I want to go to said concert. What tickets do you have available? The thing is that sports events are actually easier to get into than, let's just say, Miley Cyrus. Just because the seats that are inside of T-Mobile Arena are not owned by MGM or any properties in particular. So really, they're really difficult to get free tickets for a show. You have to be an extremely high-level player. I'm talking platinum, noir level guest to get these comp tickets. And usually these are arranged through a block when they make any of these reservations. So there is usually a block that they have to choose from. And that happened all the time at the concierge desk. We would have sort of like the box office pickup where you would come to the concierge desk, we'd look you up, print your ticket out, and you're good to go. Those usually came from a predetermined section inside of the concert venue. So that typically means there are a limited amount to choose from. But another good way to use your host, even if you're not going to be, getting these for free, is that they do have their selection inside of their like marketing deal, where they can sell those tickets that we can't see because they get like 2 sections or 2 rows of a particular show. So sometimes they'll say, hey, you can't get these for free, but I can arrange these tickets for you if you would like to purchase them. A good thing to do is to always, this is a really good tip, is to always charge anything that you're paying for in the hotel to your room. This just goes to the room and gets held on the room charge. Again, it's not free. But this allows for the casino host to go in and pay for that ticket or pay for that, whatever, for the meal, if you will, because it's technically not processed yet and it's not been charged. So it's really just holding a spot until you actually leave the hotel and, settle up at the end of the day. Or until the host comes in and comps everything on it. So I always recommend if you have a host or VIP marketing, make sure you charge everything to your room because that allows that person, the casino host, to take it off of the bill, which is always nice. So when you can, charge the room. Don't go over exorbitant and pay for too much stuff. But again, just afford to be who you can afford to be. So that's definitely a tip that I'd recommend. Another thing that I think are, good ways to use host is if you're looking for recommendations for you specifically, they are usually very, very good. They usually know the fine dining places. They usually know some casual spots, but I would definitely say that casino hosts are some of the smarter people in the room. For the most part, because you have to use sort of both sides of your brain. You have to use analytics to sort of gauge sort of the risk factor that you're getting from that particular guest. And then you also have to be able to communicate effectively with that person and sell. Because a lot of times that job is selling. So just be very wary of that. But always check with your host if you have one, because you never know when you have some deals that you want to use, or if you have points that you're very, very close and you just want to get over to the next hump. So that's, I think important to note for casino hosts. So what else do I have for you guys? So I actually was at, let's do some restaurant updates. I was actually at Charlie's at the Wynn, which fantastic wings. I love the wings at Charlie's. It's it's pricey. It's like $23 for these chicken wings, but oh my God, they're so good. But the only drawback is, and I get really annoyed about this, I got the same waitress twice, and she was so slow. The service at Charlie's at the Wynn is probably one of the slowest I've ever been a part of. So I have no idea how they deal with volume. But there was a point where I got my wings before my soda came, which the wings did come up fast, I have to say that. But they're very crispy. They have this sort of like buffalo, this buffalo rub or buffalo sauce on it. And I don't know what it is, but it's the perfect amount of buffalo heat. And it's just so good. It's sort of like a mild sauce. But Charlie's is great. Loved it. Really fantastic time. Highly recommend the wings, but it does get kind of busy there. So moving on to another thing that I experienced. So I was actually, where was I at? I ended up going to the Mayfair Supper Club. So I went to Mayfair Supper Club, which I haven't been in such a long time. It's been so many weeks and months that I haven't been. And it was like a Friday or Saturday. It was Saturday. And I wanted to experience for that late night vibes. It's okay. Like, I don't think, for me, at least what I saw, was not worth going and staying up late for all that. I did talk to some very amazing people, which was very fun, but it was fine. It just shows a little bit more nudity. It's a little bit more sensual, but Mayfair Supper Club After Dark is okay. Maybe when they have some of their featured performers, it'll get better, obviously. But what do they know? What do they want me to tell them? Just book better people. Anyways, so that was your update on things going on in my life when I went on vacation, and then also coming back to Las Vegas, and then experiencing some of the things in town before I go to my other job. So anyways, thank you so much for everybody for listening. Thank you for all of you who reached out while you were here in Vegas. It is really tough for me to get out and sort of meet you guys just because there's a good amount of you guys out there now. And sometimes we're in just different parts of town. And I'm not going to lie, when I'm at home and I'm not doing nothing, I ain't trying to get up and go to bed. That's how it is. But anyways, thank you so much for listening to Concierge Confidential. Follow us on all of our socials, Concierge Confidential _LV. And then, of course, you can follow me, Brian _ Ortega 26 for any of the latest things going on in my life. It'll be on there. So thanks again for listening, guys. If you see me out in town, come say hello. But remember, keep it confidential.